Who's ready for an adventure?
In the spring of 2016, I ventured out into the wilderness of northern Ontario, Canada, for the adventure of a lifetime. I brought my dog Roy, a canoe full of gear, and enough food to last me a few days. My plan was to live off the land with no tent for 2 months. This trip took place in Temagami, on Robinson-Huron Treaty territory, in the traditional lands of the Anishinaabeg people.
I know there's a portage right there, but the water's high this time of year. I'm thinking I can probably paddle and just track down this river. Have to take a look though. Certainly don't want to ruin my canoe on the first day out. I also don't want to do more work than I have to. Normally when tracking it's done with two people, one at the bow, one at the stern. I've never done it by myself before, but I'm sure I'll do a whole bunch of things by myself that I've never done before. I'm going to pull in over here, proceed on foot, and assess the situation. And it's midday. My goal for the day is setting up camp, so I do need to find a good location for that, but I don't need to rush. I've decided to go ahead and track down the river. So Roy's just taking the easy route. I'm knee deep in water. I always expect to get a bit wet when I'm in the canoe. Plan appropriately. So right now I'm just on a little creek. Tracked about halfway down it, and then I saw a place to take out, so I pulled up my canoe to scout ahead. I was actually in this exact area last summer and fall, and I made camp right here. Obviously the water has gone up a little bit because that was my fire pit right there. This is a portage route, so I could continue the portage and put in here. I'd rather stop tracking and start the portage, put in here, but I don't think it'll be too tough to get down any further. And once I'm to this point, it's fairly sedate. It should be easy to get out to the big lake. So this is the camp that I made last summer. Set up right around here. Built myself a lean-to right there. The weight of the snow has pushed it down a little bit, but that would still be shelter if you needed to crawl in to get out of the worst of the rain anyways. A couple sets of tracks here. There's a moose, medium-sized moose, and then looks like some sort of canid. I'm gonna guess that'd be a fox. We've got Roy's tracks there. So this is smaller than Roy by a decent bit. So this is a familiar area. It's good to be back. And now I just need to start moving because the daylight won't be around forever. And I've got a camp to establish. Alright, we're through. Track. A little more difficult with only one person, but we made it. About setting up here. Alright, so I've just scoped out this area, and it's on the southern point, so it'll be a lot of sun. It's got a lot of work, but I think it might be a good spot to set up camp. Yeah, I like the looks of this spot. It's got some rocks in the ground. I can use that to set up a campfire. Can use that in the construction of my shelter. So it's got some potential. So right now I'm just looking for a spot to set up camp. I'm not too sure about right here. It seemed like a good spot from the map, but it's pretty dense at this point. It's certainly not ruled out, but the brush is thick enough that the bugs are going to be really bad. As you can see, Roy is having a hard time with them right now. So I think I'm probably going to keep looking. Maybe come back to this spot, but move on for now. I'm going to go to a spot that I know right now. I can get in there and make some tea, and if necessary I will camp there for the night, come back tomorrow with a fresh day and put a good hard day's work of construction, of clearing a lot of debris out of the way, and we will see what I can do with that. So I'm going to head over up to an island a little further north and take a second to relax, rehydrate, and think things over. Here's the first fire of the trip. First of many. And so the adventure begins. Roy. Hey, buddy. How are you doing? You good dog? Of course you are. This is Roy. Roy's a good boy. Oh. Life is hard, eh, Roy? Now, I plan to set up my own site eventually, build my own shelter, set up a fire ring for cooking, all those things. Just because that's, I want to show the survival process from start to finish. This is not a true survival situation. I have a decent supply of gear here. Well, that's because I'm going to be here for a decent amount of time. So 2 months to be exact. It'll give me a good chance to demonstrate a lot of skills, show what you would do in a survival situation. I don't want to leave myself too short in terms of the supplies. I might have to cut the trip short if that were the case, and then I wouldn't be able to demonstrate those skills. Anyways, so tonight I've decided to set up camp on a site that's already been established. I would say I stumbled across it, but I've camped here a couple times in the past few years. It's a nice site. Just give you a little pan here. This is the landing area. So we've got some nice west-facing rocks, good for drying your clothes on, or for just taking in the sun. We've got a fire ring established here with a grate. Incredibly useful, cooking over a grate. Makes it a hell of a lot easier than trying to support a pot over a couple of green sticks. Now, previously established sites are really nice as long as they're used properly. This one I've found consistently over the years, each time I've come to it, it's been abused. I'm not entirely sure why, but you get here, find crap like this. People have left their garbage, people have cut down green wood, they don't know what they're doing, and they don't treat the land with respect. It's important that anytime you're out in the woods, you have to be respectful how you use it and leave it in a good state for those who are going to be using it after you. Anytime you're in the bush for an extended period of time, you need to keep your mind on staying hydrated. It's easy to forget to drink, meanwhile you're sweating, working hard, and it catches up with you before too long. So a certain habit that I like to get into is having tea in the afternoon. I brought this pot of water to boil. I'm going to have the whole thing. I might not feel like drinking it all, but I'm going to force myself to drink it because it will just be that much more water into my system. It'll help me stay hydrated. And there are also a ton of really good natural teas out there. You don't have to be a big tea enthusiast in order to find something good out here. Today I've gone with yellow birch. So I just took a bunch of twigs, cut them up into small little pieces. So I'll put this in the pot here, leave that for a few minutes, and then I'll come back to that. Yellow birch is a pretty nice one. It's a sweet tea, tastes kind of like wintergreen. The nice thing about it is, if you know your trees, it's easy to recognize, and you're going to be able to find it any time of year. The part of the tree that you use, that I find most effective, are the twigs. I've heard you can use the bark and the leaves, but that really gives an inferior taste. The twigs are the part of the tree that I find most flavorful. So anyways, we'll leave this for a few minutes, come back to that, and then we'll get hydrated by having our yellow birch tea. So my tea is now ready. I let it steep for about 15-20 minutes. Just dunk a mug in here. And there you have it. That's pretty good. It's a pretty mild tea, but generally speaking, they will be pretty mild when you make a natural tea. Doesn't have to be super strong though, and remember the important thing is staying hydrated. If you do want a stronger tea, just let it steep for longer, but I'm happy with this. It's nothing too crazy, and it does the job for me. So I'm going to have this whole pot of tea. It'll keep me hydrated, and I'll be good to go for another day. An important note to make as well. I decided to set up camp at this particular location. I was originally thinking just stay here for tea. Before too much longer though, I decided that I was just gonna set up here. I know this spot, I know it's a good location, and from previous experience I've learned that you don't bank on a maybe. As the sun's going down, you don't head off and think, okay, maybe I'll find a good site. If there is a good site, limited daylight, you should probably take it. Start out early in the morning if you want to do some exploring. As a general rule of thumb, everything takes longer when you're out here. So yeah, don't assume you're going to find something better. If you have something good, go for it, and leave yourself a lot of time if you're going to do some exploring. Always a good idea to leave yourself more time than you think you're going to take, because like I said, everything takes longer when you're out here. But it's also much more beautiful. There's a good boy. There's a good boy, eh? You're a good dog. You know that? You're a good dog. So I'm just exploring the island that I'm on right now, camping for the night. This here is a yellow birch. It is the type of tree that I used to make my tea this afternoon. You can identify it, it's got your classic papery birch bark. The difference between yellow birch and white birch, the yellow is obviously the bark's a little yellower, and instead of flaking off in big sheets, it'll peel off in tiny little strips like this. So excellent tinder, and it makes a pretty good tea as well. So it's a good tree to know. So one thing I've been noticing on this island, aside from a lot of mosquitoes where I am right now, is that there are a lot of moose droppings here. Found a few collections of them, as well as some pretty sizable tracks. Probably about the size of both my hands together, maybe even bigger actually. But even though this is an island, I guess there are moose here now and then. I wouldn't imagine that they would stay here, but they would have no problem swimming here from the mainland and finding food, I would imagine. Here we have tinder fungus. This is I'm terribly familiar with. Just read up on it. But yeah, it is good for starting fires, I've heard. And I believe you can use it as a fireboard for friction fires as well, so I'll have to put that to the test. I just found that growing on a yellow birch here, a black lump. You cut it open, it's orange inside. So I'll bring some of that back to camp, let it dry, and see what I can do with it. So we're at the end of day one. Today, just basically scoped out the area, got a feel for things. We had beautiful weather. It's nice and warm, much warmer than I expected actually for this time of year. And yeah, no rain, so can't really complain. Nice to get in with a dry day, good weather. So just setting up camp at a temporary spot. Got the fire going right now. Going to try to get some, I've just been putting some green cedar on there, get some smoke going, keep the insects at bay. Just need to stand in the smoke here. Works temporarily anyways. See how long it holds up for. Feel bad for Roy. He is just getting eaten alive, and he doesn't understand. Basically, you go in the woods, that's where they are. So you stay away from there. Tried to get him to come near the fire, and of course he freaks out a bit, and then also he seems to be choking on the smoke a little bit. So yeah, I feel bad for the poor guy. He's He's having a hard time. Other than that though, things have gone well so far. Tomorrow will be a day to head over to, I'll show you actually. There's a peninsula to the south of here, maybe a kilometer. So just over, down that way anyways. And yeah, so it looked like it had some potential. Beautiful evening as a side note. Some potential as a site. So I'm gonna head over there tomorrow with axe and saw and shovel and see if I can't carve out a site for myself. Tonight I am using my canoe and a tarp as a shelter, something I've never done before, but I've heard of it. So we'll see how this goes. Just prop the canoe at a bit of an angle with some rocks on either side. Got the tarp on top and underneath. Rowan wants to go in there. Yeah, we'll see how it does for bugs. I'm sure they will still get at us. Question is how badly. But yeah, that's tonight. I've heard we're supposed to get a little bit of rain. It's looking looking cloudy, so we'll see how things play out. Well, day one in the books. Here goes night one. We'll see how it treats me. This is gonna be a fucking night to remember. It essentially traps the mosquitoes in, and it traps the heat in too. So yeah, this will be something. So this has been quite the night so far. It's about 3 o'clock now, and it's raining, and I haven't slept. The mosquitoes have been non-stop, and this tarp leaks. This is absolute garbage. Yeah, I've got some serious work to do tomorrow.